All right, good morning, everybody. So yesterday we left off. Today is Daf Chaf Aleph. So we got off. We left off. We started the new parak, and we had this halacha, this concept of Teich Kedei Dibur. So we had a quick machlokas, a slight machlokas between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Thank you. And Lagabe, how Teich Kedei Dibur works. Why are we talking about Teich Kedei Dibur? Let's go back for a second. Person says, I'm a Nazir, then someone says, so am I. So it has to do with Teich Kedei Dibur, or else it's considered to be disconnected. So how much Teich Kedei Dibur? So it says Reish Lakish, you have to say it within Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, which is Teich Kedei Dibur, basically those three words. I don't know, 5 seconds. Says Rabbi Nasiya, I understand. If someone says a Nazir and his Rebbe walks by, you can't go ahead and say it. So it's Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, and then if you do it immediately after, that counts as Teich Kedei Dibur. So then we left off on top. Let's just do the Bryce on top. So Tana Mehachi, similar we learned we have a Bryce in support of Reish Lakish. First word, top line, Chaf Aleph Amar Aleph. So Mishi Amar Haredi Nazir V'Shama Chavero V'Shak Kedei Dibur. So someone who said, "Behold, I'm a Nazir," and his friend heard, and then he waited. Right, Teich Kedei Dibur. He waited those 5 seconds. The Amar. Then at the very end of those 5 seconds, and he says, "Vani." Who aser b'chaver mutter? He is aser. The person who made the statement is aser, but his friend is mutter because he said it immediately after Teich Kedei Dibur, and that doesn't work. The Kama Kedei Dibur, Kedei Shida Shalom Talmud Rabbi. In order for basically a Talmud a student to greet his Rebbe, basically say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe. Now, Leim V'Sayle. Let's say this is a proof. Misha Maharini Nazir V'Shama Chavera. Person says, "Behold, I'm a Nazir," and his friend heard. V'Amar Vani Vani, and he said, "And I," and someone else said, "And I." Right, that was the Mishnah, I believe. Right, that's what our Mishnah says. The Sulo, and it doesn't list anybody else. Basically, almost like there's no more room. So over here. So what do you see over here? We don't list even people that would do it immediately after the Zman of Teich Kedei Dibur. It's only within the immediate Shalom Aleichem Rebbe time period. And it doesn't mention anything else. The Gemara says, "I Tana Kirucha." Are we talking the Chashiv Lizel? Are we going ahead and we have to like a poor merchant? We have to list every single thing, every single person who says Vani, right? You say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, basically you have this Shalom Aleichem Rebbe as 3 words. So you have room for Vani, 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 right? You got room for 3 of them. Why didn't you mention the 3 of them? So we're not like a poor merchant who goes ahead and sells small things at a time. If that's the case, so why'd you say Beliza Belisnichat? So go ahead and just say one. Teach Teich Kedei Dibur. Just say Chat, right? Vani, and don't say Vani, Vani. And teach us that way. Hani. So Hachinami really could have done. We shouldn't have done it Sefer, but it says in the Sefer, Hutar Harishon, Hutar Kulon, because we want to list the halachas. If we go ahead and matter the first one, then all of them are mutter. Hutar Achra, the last one was matter, then Achra mutter, but the last one is mutter. But Kulon Yasur, but otherwise it's Asr because those are linked to the first statement. Right. So confirm there that there is a middle one. Because of that, it says Vani, Vani. Now, because we wanted to teach the halacha of mattering a later one, mattering an earlier one, so therefore we listed more than one person saying Vani. But really, right, you can't learn from here. In other words, the Mishnah could have said, right, according to Reish Lakish, let's say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe is 3 people, because that Shalom Aleichem Rebbe is 3 words. So Vani, Vani, Vani is 3 words. So potentially, according to Reish Lakish, is 3 words. According to Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, right, you also have this man of immediately following the Teich Kedei Dibur. So it really be maybe like 4 times, right? Vani, Vani, Vani. That's during Teich Kedei Dibur, and immediately after is Vani. So, but it didn't list 3 or 4 times in our Mishnah. It just listed 2 because we wanted to teach a lot of other halach, and you can't be meduyak from it. Fine. Thank you. Mitvas, idilma bekama mitvas. Here's the question. So, do you say that you have to be Teich Kedei Dibur from the last person to say Vani, or does everybody have to see Teich Kedei Dibur from the person who made the initial statement of Harini Nazir? So lamai nafkamina. So very poshut. Itfusay umizo, right? To go on for, to keep connecting to another statement of ani. To go on and on. So if you just say that you connect to the next person, you can have 25 people. You can go on forever. Vani, right? Everyone does after each one. And if you say it's only with the original person, so only it's the dibur like matfisin. It's only the within dibur, only within the initial 5 seconds of the first statement, and that's it. So what is halacha? So Toshma, come and listen. Hareini Nazir, person says, "Behold, I'm a Nazir." V'shama chaver and his friend heard the Amar va'ani, and two people say, one guy says ani, another guy says ani. And it doesn't mention anybody else. So Shvami no bekamu matfisi. It must be two people, right? Because only listed two people, and two people are within Teichei Dibur. And if it was going to teach you that Teichei Dibur of Chavero, you should have said 5 or 6 times. You should list more people. Listen to Vavani. So Gemara asks once again, Tana Kirucha, we're like a street peddler, right? We need to list each one, Vani, 25 times to teach you that you can be matvis bechavero 25 times. Okay, so that's the case. You want to be a rich person at a peddler, so be the opposite. List nechad, say one. And then we learn from there. So Gemara says no. I need Diktari once again, since we want to say Hutar Rishon, Hutar Kulon, since we want to say that if you matter the first person, everyone else is mutter, Hutar Ha'achron, but if you matter the last person, Ha'achron, mutter, but Kulon Asur, and the others are still Asur. So you can learn from there that I'm saying, therefore we have to list at least minimum 2 people. Fine.
Always on the person who said the tender, or is the ID on the person who said ID before? That's the question.
That's the question. Right. So, we'll soon see. Now, right. How do you link it to it? Now, obviously, we're going on the statement of being a nazir, right? But he's saying, right? Is he saying I'm tying myself to the original statement, or the second sunnah? We'll soon see at the end. The Gemara is going to come up with the definitive answer. Let's see. So Tashba, come and listen. Huta Rishon, Hutra Kulon. If you matter the first one, everybody's mutter. Hutra Kulon. Rishon Huta Sharu. Sounds like only the first one, I'm sorry, low. But the middle one, right? If you matter the middle one, it wouldn't work, right? Now, so let's assume there's 3 people, right? There's the Rishon, there's Harini Nazir, there's Vani, right? So it's 3 people, right? So it sounds like I'm sorry, low. So it sounds like, but if the middle guy we mattered, then only that person would do. So Shmamina become matvisin. It must be. So we want to make it inference from the Mishnah, but the Mishnah only said if you matter the first person, then everyone else is mutter. But it didn't say if you matter. It didn't say you matter the second person, the third person is also mutter. It didn't say that. So it must be only the first person. He's the one who matters others, but everybody else, if you matter them, nobody's linked to one another. Everyone's always a link to the original person.
So
let's see. Right, the guys are in for both ways. So let's see. So the guys are very good. So he says, "I'm saying low. Shmami no become matfisin." That's what we're matfisin. So the guy says, "No." Maybe we can say that each person is linked to the next one, and he attaches his to the person that Shimon attaches his statement to Ruvain, and Ruvain attached his to the original statement of Yaakov. Since we want to list just the chiddush of Yimater Yaakov, Yimater then both Reuben and Shimon, because if you would just say the middle guy, i.e. Reuben, then Ikarish Mitri, then the original statement of Yaakov, he wouldn't be matter. So Mishum Hachi Tony Rishon, therefore it says the original case. So Toshma, come listen. Huter ha'achron. So that's what the other case. It says if you matter the last one, ha'achron mutter, only the last guy is mutter v'kulan asur, and everyone else is still asur. Delay ika achrine basre, because there's no one else after. Aval, I'm sorry, but it sounds like if you matter the middle person, the ika achrine basre, mishtari, he should be mutter. So shmami no chad v'chavi matfis. It's one another. So the says no. The other man maybe everyone's with the first person. Well, my achron. What does it mean if you matter the last person, right? My achron. I'm sorry, maybe it means the middle person, and he and everybody after is only he is a mutter. So why'd you call the person the middle person achron? Because we said the other person was rishon, so we called this one the achron. However, now the Gemara is going to bring a definitive answer. Toshma, come listen. The Tanya, Behedya, it says the Fresh and the Brisa. Hutar harishon, Hutra Kulan. If you mount to the first person who says Hareini Nazir, and then two people say Ani, and another person says Vani, both of them are mutter. Hutra Achron, if you mount to the last person, Ha'achron mutter v'kulan asura. Hutra and Said, drum roll, right? If you mount to the middle person, Hey menu ulamata mutter. People from before him are mutter. Hey menu lamala after. But anybody who said Vani after him is linked to him, and therefore, right? Hey menu lamala. Excuse me, I said the other way. Hey menu lamata mutter. Right? Those people who said above him or below him, in other words, after him, right, would be mutter, and those people who said before him are usher because those are linked before him. So shmamina shmamina. So the dealer from here that when you are Matvis, the second person say by me, you are part of a chain going to guy number two. Right, 3 attaches to 2, and 3 does not attach to 1.
So
4 attaches to 3.
It's based in parallel, and one is.
So what? So no, it goes in alignment, right? So right. So that was if there's 4 people, right? Then you matter the third person, then 3 and 4 are mutter, but 1 and 2 are usher, right? If you matter 2, then 2, 3, and 4 are mutter, right? And 1 is everybody. Fine. 3 lines from the bottom. Hareini Nazir v'shama chavero. Person says, "Behold, I am a Nazir," and his friend heard. V'amar he kapiv v'sa'ari kisa'ara. My mouth is like his mouth. My hair is like his hair, and so he's a Nazir. So Gemara says, "I mishum damar kapiv v'sa'ara v'sa'ari kisa'ara harei Nazir." He's a Nazir by just saying my mouth is like his mouth and my hair is like his hair.
To the page.
I to the page Vamin, who has a kasha. It says Yadai Nazira, Baragli Nazira, Loyamar Klum. Person says my hands are that of a Nazir or my feet. He hasn't said anything. However, he says Raishi Nazir, my head is a Nazir, or Kvedi Nazir, or my liver is a Nazir. Harez a Nazir. That such a person is a Nazir in this case. Why is that? Because Zaklal, there's the rule. If it's something, right, that the person's life depends on, right? That was if you chop off that part, he will no longer be alive. So then that is considered to be he himself, right? So now the person says, "My finger is a nazir." Okay, we can chop off your finger, and your being is not. If you say, "My heart is a nazir," so you can't separate your heart from yourself, and therefore you are a nazir. So in this case, a mouth, yeah, it's important, but I guess it's not. A person can still live, right? Yeah, or his hair, right? What's the big deal with his hair? It doesn't just say my mouth is like his mouth. Rather, he says, right, my mouth is like his mouth from wine, and my hair is like his hair from cutting. In other words, basically, he spells out that he's not just saying my mouth is like his mouth. He's saying my mouth is like his mouth, that it's forbidden to wine, or my hair is like his hair, it's forbidden to cut, which is like Naziris. Fine, 2 dots. Hareini Nazira. So now we get into the case of the husband and wife. So she says Hareini Nazira, B'Shama Bala, and her husband heard Amar Bani, and he says, and I, Eino Yachol Leifer. He can no longer revoke her vow. Now, Iboilu. So before we get into the direct understanding of the statement, really we have to get a background understanding, which the Gemara. Yeah.
His or her?
Hers. You can't matter your own, right? It's always his wife. So she says, I'm a Nazira.
That if he says after her, Bani, then he cannot.
Right, it's what we're saying here.
For himself.
No. Well, he can never do himself. Right. If he says Bani, and I'm also going to be a Nazir, he can no longer revoke her vow. Usually, a woman says, I'm a Nazira. Here's her says, okay, you're revoked. Right. But she says, I'm a Nazira, and he says, me too. Oh, and you're revoked, and you're not going to be. That he can't do that. So first of all, Iboilu, Baal Miyakir Akir, Dilma Migas Gaius. Once again, we have this famous question: is he uprooting it? And when he revokes her, it's like she never made Naziris at all, or basically, is it just saying that your Naziris stops right now once he heard after 3 hours? Now, Lamai Nafkamina, what's an Nafkamina? Lisha Shanadra ben Nazir, the Shama Chaverta. So let's say a woman says, I'm a Nazira. And then her friend heard, she says, okay, yeah, I'll do. That's a good idea. I'll join with you. The Shama Baila Shal Rishayna. And then the first husband heard the night later in the afternoon. Behave fear law, and he revokes hers. Now, So if you said he uprooted it and she was never a Nazira, then the second one is also permitted because she linked hers to hers. And the time at 12 o'clock noon, when she says she's a Nazira, she linked it to nothing because that was uprooted 3 hours later at 3 p.m. Like it never happened. So therefore, that her initial statement of Harani Nazira never happened. And therefore, her friend saying, and me also never happened. However, the Migas Magis. But if you say that was just cut off, and she was a Nazira from 12 to 3 for 3 hours until her husband heard, so therefore that still stands. So therefore, when her friend heard her make the statement at noon, and she says, "And me too," she would be a Nazira because at that time, at 12 o'clock, the first woman was a Nazira, and therefore she
her own husband to me.
Correct, right, and her Nazira still stands. So, what is the case? What is the halach? Is it Bal Miyakir Akir or is it Mige's guys? So Tashma, come and listen. Harein in Nazira v'shama ba'ila. So let's look at a Mishnah. A woman says, "Behold, I'm a Nazira," and her husband heard. V'yamar, and he says, "Vani," and I. Eino yachol lefer. He can no longer revoke. Now, v'saglas Bal Mige's guy is if you say that the husband cuts it off. In other words, that let's say she made the statement at 12 o'clock, whatever it was, right? Then 3 o'clock later on, he says, "And I," right? So v'saglas Bal Mige's guy is lifer liishto.
No, 3 o'clock you use enough for it. She has to say Rani right away.
Or maybe, yeah, okay. I guess he had a hearing. Yeah, let's say he had a hearing. But in other words, those 3 seconds, she was indeed a Nazira. Okay, and that doesn't get uprooted. Okay, so Bal Mige's guy is Lifer Lishto, right? Volitzer, right? Let him go ahead and revoke it, and he can still be Aser. In other words, if her Nazira still stood for some moments, right, he should be able to revoke it. It must be that it was completely uprooted and it never existed. The says, no, that's not how it works. Mige's guys, maybe you could say it's really that did work. Really, he can go ahead and revoke it, right? And Vahainu, Tom, this is the reason that Zevi actually sort of said yesterday, the cave of the Amar Law, since he says, and I. That's a confirmation. And once you confirm something, then you can revoke it. It's not a question of, and I, in other words, just like a regular person who can go ahead and attaches to it, right? The and I is working two things. It's not just an attachment at making yourself a Nazir. It's also a confirmation of a Nazira. So Va'ani is actually like a dual, doing two things here. And therefore, since it's working as a kiyum, therefore that's the reason why I can't revoke it. It's not because it never existed at all, right? It's rather it's because that he's confirming it. And and if he, by the way, if he does the shayel on his kiyum, right, then he can go ahead and revoke it. But if not, then he can't go ahead and revoke it if he doesn't go ahead and remove his confirmation. So Tashma, come listen. Aisha Shenadra Benazir, a woman that went ahead and she made a neder for Nazirus of Ifrisha as Bahata. And then she separated animals to go ahead and use these animals at the end of my Nazirus. Her husband comes back from his work trip. He hears what she did the day before. She separated the animals. She was a Nazir. Immediately when he heard it, he says, hey, no chance, lady. I'm revoking it. If the animal, if they were his animals, and I was there from his possession, that he separated them, then they can go back and just graze. They can go graze, right? They can go graze back in the pen. It's like nothing happened. Why? They weren't her animals, and in addition, she was never in a zero. So therefore, the animals are fine. But let's say they were part of her personal assets. Let's say they were given to her while she was whatever on the condition their husband's again, whether it was during Erusin or whatever it was. If she set aside the animals that were her own personal ones, then the animals are forced to die. They're left to die like a chatas. Okay, even though she's not in the zira, but there was something to her designation. We don't say it was nothing, right?
Just the chatas.
Well, even the chatas, but
just the chatas
is left to tamus, right? I mean,
just the first one. Just the first. No, just the chatas, because the ola can always be brought as a nedava.
So there's three animals. There's a chatas brought. There's an ola, and there's I think a shlomo. Ashab. Asham is brought. One second. Asham is brought by Tuma. 1 second. It could be Asham this guy. Yeah. Huh?
No, but she
Yeah,
didn't.
look, right.
She doesn't. She did the first.
No, just the Chatas.
Sacrifices. What is that? 3 animals: a male lamb for an Olo offering, a female lamb for a Chatas offering, a ram for a Shlama. Yeah. So Shlama. It's Ayal brought
Right,
Shlama.
so the.
Right. But the point is,
Ola and the Shlamim can always be brought.
that's fine. But the point is that there is something to the designation. Earlier, if it was his, it was nothing. But it's hers now. So let's
It's
see.
not free.
Right. The end. Now, now understand. If there was nothing to her Nazirus, in other words, it was uprooted, like she was never a Nazira. So then, Tepek L'chulin. They should. It was all done mistakenly. So there should be nothing to the designation. Elalav, it must be it must be that really she was a Nazira for a day, and therefore there was kedusha that was set upon the animals, and therefore that's the reason why. Only in the other case it wasn't her animals, right? But in this case, right, it's her animals. So Gemara says no. Maybe it was completely uprooted behind the tama. What's the reason? Since really now it was uprooted, and she doesn't need atonement. It's no different than a chatas whose husband, whose owner died. His husband, yeah. So a chatas, right? A person, let's say he designates the animal to be his chatas, and he dies. So he no longer needs a kapara. He died, right? That was a complete atonement, right? So what do you do with the animals? So the animals left. You let out to starve, right? You so because it doesn't. So over here, in this case, the woman, since it's completely uprooted, it's like an owner that died that didn't need any sort of kapara. The community, the chatas shemeis ba'ala tamus, and we learned that the chatas whose owner died is left. Right, 1 of 5 is left to go ahead and left out to starve to die. So Tashbak, and listen, we still didn't improve it. A woman, she became a Nazir, and she drank wine, or she was Matam of the Mason. She gets Malchus. Say, what's the case there? If we're talking about a case of where her husband never revoked, and just a regular case of Nazirus. So you got to tell me that a woman is punished for violating the Torah. Of course, we know that. It must be the Hefer Labal. It must be that the husband revoked it, and she still gets whipped. Right? She still gets malchus. And if you say he uproots it like it never stood, why should she get malchus? Right? If there was no Nazirus at all, but it was like it never existed, then she didn't violate anything. Ella, rather now, what do you say? You must say that she was, temporarily a Nazira, and then during that temporary Nazira, she violated before you, right? And therefore you can propose. The guy says, no, maybe he was uprooted.
Wow.
So, so if that's the case, so why? So if I guess everybody, right? If it was a case of where it was revoked and she didn't know about it, and then she was drinking wine on time of the Mason, then so even though she thought she was violating, if he did it without her knowing, then she gets lucky and she doesn't go ahead and receive any sort of malchus in that situation, right? So I guess we'll stop here. I guess. And therefore, and therefore it says, because I saw the Tana. Yes, I said right. So Tana Reisha. Therefore it says Reisha. So therefore it says that she gets malchus, even though there's no chiddush there. Her husband never revoked it, right? It just. Yes, she gets malchus only to teach it by in the Seifa where he does revoke it without her knowing that she doesn't go ahead and get malchus. All right, we'll stop here.